beat them. Well, if they do that now, Mendo might have more to say about it.
I was going to say, if it was a slight change, instead of running double hit scan, maybe it's Soldier for McCree. In the same way that McCree is better at shutting down Tracer and Genji. If they don't want to go a double hit scan, maybe they switch out Soldier and they run the single McCree as the only DPS.
Well, we'll see now, folks, as the game is about to begin. And you're just this little special snowflake, aren't you? Well, they are going to run Surefour on the McCree, as Lord Slasher has predicted.
He's now a Lord? He's been upgraded
Slasher.
to Lord?
Well, I'm trying to make him my best friend.
All right.
I feel like I'm making significant progress this broadcast, CP, so please don't get in my way. Thank you. Preach, dog. But anyway, so here we go. It's all down to what does compLexity do. Of course, they won't know until those final seconds.
I mean, before they ran D.Va instead because they saw a double hit scan, I'm not sure if a single McCree it will be the reason that they changed to D.Va instead. But we'll see. Once they spot it out, we'll see if they change or not.
Take a look here at the offense. compLexity not going to be changing from what has been working out for them. They will be showing that Sombra here once more. And again, the standpoint of the strategy, very, very simple. You go in with the Sombra, you build ultimate. You're not trying to go for early pickoff, so if you get one, all the more power to you. Torque right now will be methodical. He's going to throw down a translocator, go in, look for a little bit of poke, and let his team get the health pack. And look at that. Even though JKW goes down, someone grabbed Torque's health pack. He gained 25% ult charge there.
Yeah, Harblue was the one who went for it, and he's just stacking on those healths for him, man. He's at 69% health here with this health pack. Mendo's going to fall pretty early on this fight, though, and Harblue's going right back for it. 92% now for the Sombra, and that just means that this fight is going to be initiated relatively soon, and if they are not careful, that could be curtains here for them. Harblue looking to get into a prime position. Torque now has that EMP hex, or excuse me, too many times. ZP.
I'm not a sellout, okay? I'm terrible at telling things, but Harblue does get that first hook off on to Rib to start things out. Torque hang on to the EMP, perhaps being a little bit greedy here, thinking that they can win with that, but no, drops the EMP towards the end of the fight, but might be a little bit too late. He was waiting on it, could have gotten a little bit more off it earlier on, but C9 starting to bring this back at least a little bit. It is back and forth between the both sides, and C9 they're gonna have to back out, but here comes Surefour in over the top with the nano boosted Deadeye, throws a bullet right to Nicholas, gets the double kill, and C9 might be able to bring this back yet. It's gonna be very close.
A strong possibility here. Rolf is going to be left alone here on the point, as well as Adam. So Adam having to back away, and that means compLexity is just going to continue to gain some more, charge here on this objective. Will this be the opportunity they need to be able to secure this, get themselves their first point? Seems like Joe, though, is now going to try and support as best he can. Having to back away, though, there goes the self-destruct, forcing Joe Meister to get out of the fray here. And you are going to have Harblue and JKW now just running roughshod all over the objective. And that is going to be potentially a cap here, of course, if Mendo has something to say about it. But never mind. Mendo gets hooked by Harblue, and now we're going to start the streets phase.
So, compLexity, they didn't quite get that point as quickly as they would have wanted. I do think there's a case where Torque probably should have EMP'd a little bit earlier. But again, teams do like managing Ulticami. If they were able to take it without the EMP on that first push, they would have an even better second push. But here comes Torque, going to the back line, holding on to the EMP. Doesn't even use it right now, just going in the Reinhardt, but gets stymied by the defensive matrix. A really nice showing there from Kai. They keep Rib alive. Rib is going to get healed up in the back now by Rolf. And compLexity going to have to win this fight the old-fashioned way. No early Reinhardt pick, but there it is. Torque into the back line. Down goes the EMP. And C9, they back out and deal with this in an okay fashion.
That has to be so frustrating, ZP, because you're looking good in this fight, and then here comes the EMP. But you know what, though? Despite that, they were able to fight back here. So kudos to Cloud9 on a great hold, and Surefour, of course, on the end of that one, managing to pick up 3, and now he has a Deadeye as well. So Cloud9 has found that answer thus far for this Sombra, because we've seen, especially in that phase matchup, they really struggled in the initial phase here against Sombra.
It is interesting, and I do think C9, they were looking at complexity. Complexity kind of telegraphed that opening there, where it was very obvious what they were going for, and they just gave a lot of space, and even though Torque landed the EMP, the fall through was immediately there. And now C9 in over the top. The sound barrier again coming in from complexity, but they're not immediately able to dive in. They get Rib, but here's Surefour in over the top. Says, I'm not even going to play this game with you, Nicholas. Drops the Deadeye, lands a flashbang, takes him out, and complexity now a little bit in a rough spot as they try and bring this back over.
They're going to do everything they can here, and Surefour, man, he has just been on a tear, picking off the Zen there as well, so Shea couldn't really stand too long, and JKW falls. And another successful hold here for Cloud9 as they're looking to stop them in their tracks. They will have Torque with the EMP as well as JKW with an Earth Shatter. Will this be the push, you know, that they need? Nicholas is close to getting himself his tack visor. Meanwhile, though, Rib and Mendo will have ult on the ready. Let's see how this fight unfolds here as JKW is going to go in for the initiation. Surefour actually dives in like an eagle there and manages to find himself too, but he won't be able to follow it up because Nicholas had him, but thankfully, Mendo, there with the Roadhog, picks him up.
Does work out for C9 towards the very end. Surefour, a valiant sacrifice, but does get 2 before going down. And the rest of C9 very content to go in and clean up the rest of complexity. So complexity find themselves getting stalled out over and over here. They still have the EMP, but I will say that for this final push, if Torque doesn't get a good EMP here, I'd probably expect him to swap off to anything other than Sombra, just in the effort of trying to make anything work here on second. But you take a look here at C9, they're holding back. Kai about to get the self-destruct. He's going to look to open up with this here in a moment, and Mendo's going to be right there at the fall through, but there's the EMP to open up the fight. But Surefour on the shake immediately. C9 handling this pretty well.
Yeah, and one thing I did want to note as well was that you had 6 members of Cloud9 able to, you know, get those ults. So that certainly wasn't going to look good. Even with the EMP doing the work that it does, you know, you were still going to have all those ults to answer to once that EMP wore off. And that ended up proving, you know, to be the case there. C9 just couldn't quite hang as Rolf, Mendo, and Adam worked together there to really take advantage of the situation. And now they're getting ready for another hold, folks, but this is looking like C9. They have done some great work against complexity. They have 30 seconds now, ZP.
Well, they do have Torque swapping off onto Soldier, but here's Surefour in over the top. Deadeye up and after right. Kai opening things with a bang. Finds Showmeister early on. Surefour gonna pile on with that Deadeye. It's 2-1 in favor of C9. Diva gonna get knocked right over Mech, and again, C9's positioning here has been sublime. They haven't been giving complexity the engages they've been looking for. Even complexity had EMP, they had to overdive, to try and commit on it. And this is their last ditch effort here. 5 seconds left remaining. It is do or die here for complexity. They cannot leave the payload for any reason, but they are outgunned and outmanned right now, Golden Boy.
Yeah, and they all had to back away. You are going to have Wolf with that nano boost, and it's going to hit the old-fashioned with Rib. Rib says not today, pushes forward, and that is going to be a hold at 1 point for complexity on Hollywood. Slasher, I mean, you know, that certainly is something I did not expect. I know you know you're still are you actually you're in the game now, but
yeah.
Geez Louise, that's
I'm
insane.
actually able to spectate now.
Yeah.
I think the McCree choice was very good. I mean, they were not, besides the first point, complexity was not able to get much done, especially with Sombra. They probably needed to switch off sooner, and Cloud9, after they got high ground, was just able to hold them down.
Yeah. ZP, I do have a question for you, because one thing Slasher said that made a lot of sense was, you know, you had, the Sombra out on Torque for quite a while, but they didn't switch it out. And you notice that they were really waiting for that chance to use that EMP, and there were like, I think, 2 or 3 attacks where Torque just couldn't bust out the EMP. Did that play a factor at all? You know, in that, like, he had this great initiation ultimate, but just couldn't use it, and that was taking time off the clock.
Well, of course. I mean, the problem is that for them is that C9 knows how complexity wants to engage us here, and they were very deliberately spread out all over the course of Hollywood. And for complexity, they know how they want to get a good EMP engage, but if everyone's spread out, they weren't able to find the engage they were looking for. So rather than complexity just trying to go for a slightly less valuable engage, they were still looking for that perfect way of going in. C9 didn't give it to them, and as a result, complexity looked a little bit lost for multiple pushes in a row. So again, I think it's a case where C9 is definitely taking a look at what complexity has been doing recently and going, okay, if you're running the Sombra, she's not as individually as destructive as other DPS heroes, but her ultimate is very strong, so it's probably worthwhile to give up the benefit of being in somewhat of a death ball just so you don't give Sombra the crazy good EMPs that she is in fact looking for.
Yeah, and well, now as we begin this next phase here, it is going to be Cloud9's time to attack, and with only 1 point left, there's not a lot of progress that they're going to have to make, especially as we get ready for that streets phase, if they get there. Granted, though, Rib, it seems like he wants to make that a reality as he's able to pick up 2. Losing Kai, though, is going to hurt, but Rib is just all over the place, man. This guy's on fire. He manages to find himself 3 there, Surefour with the clear as well. And ladies and gentlemen, Rib, this guy is a monster on Reinhardt.
Mendo goes for the ledge jump, does get the ledge jump, and all it does is hasten his demise, runs right into Harblue. Mendo a little bit far out there, but in the end, doesn't really matter for C9. Rib, of course, going crazy on the first point, and Rib honestly does that more than a lot of other Reinhardts in the game, where it won't happen every fight, but every now and then, C9 will just get a fight because Rib puts himself in great positioning, is able to get a great charge with good follow-up, and then C9 goes from there. And that's important for a team. You need to have multiple threats, but next fight is underway. We do have the switch up here to Mei. Nicholas throws down the wall, and Mendo gets himself caught out again, so they're going to have to wait for Mendo here to go in for this next push.
Yeah, Mendo and, his dive obviously is very important. He will have Dragon Blade too. In a little bit. So with Surefour and the Deadeye, as well as Rib with the Earth Shatter, you can really expect that combination to be quite deadly here. And let's see how this works out. Rib, though, is going to get focused on right away, and that was going to come courtesy of Nicholas's wall. Rolf is going to bust out that Transcendence. Not really getting much for that one, though, as they lose Adam. And now C9 having to back away yet again because they really do need Rib to come up here with that presence. There goes the Earth Shatter, though, and just look at the cleaning up happening here. Surefour is going to fall. Kai, luckily for him, is able to pick up JW, and Rolf and him are going to try and work together to pick off this Mei. But this is a fight here that I'm not really feeling, C9 on this fight this far, especially with the way that Nicholas has been able to section off these supports.
Well, the interesting thing here is that compLexity has basically been taking a page of NIP's book here, where they've been incredibly aggressive with their tank setup, but that's kind of what they have to be. You take a look at where they have to defend. They don't have much room to give, but it's interesting. I'd actually like to see this aggressiveness have compLexity in less do-or-die situations. And speaking of do-or-die, Harblue looking for the flank on the side, did have a Karina sights, doesn't quite get it, but they're going to be aggressive. They're going to push forward and get C9 back. But remember, for C9, all they need here, Golden Boy, is one fight to take this map.
That's right. Could this very well be the fight, because Harblue's going to go down early, and you're going to have Surefour putting down a significant amount of damage. There goes Mendo and Rib working together here, and despite the monkey being out in rage mode, I don't know if it's going to be enough here, as Surefour, alongside with his teammate, are able to hold him off long enough for his squad to secure that point, making it 2-1. GG. Cloud9 takes game 1.
And for C9, the question is this a statement from them where they're going to be saying, look, compLexity is no longer our kryptonite, we're going to come out, we're not going to lose to them like we did in the past, and we'll have to see. I do think this new C9 team is heavily improved, and Rib is a big reason for it. Oh, yeah. Rib, of course, for those who don't know his history, he did sub in for Misfits in the Overwatch Open, was a really big reason as to why they were able to win it all there. Now, of course, Skipjack is part of the Misfits permanent roster, he's just a sub, but he's found a great home here with C9, and he's part of the reason why C9 doesn't always have to rely on Surefour level heroics to get things done. The old C9 really needed Surefour to go crazy very regularly. New C9 has a lot more heroes that can step up and have great games, and Rib definitely showing a bit of that there on Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, I remember at Overwatch Open when I forgot who it was on stage being interviewed by Malik, and he basically was just like, hey, someone needs to pick up Rib because this guy's a monster. I mean, we all know Misfits was going to stick with Skipjack. And it's great to see Rib landing on a squad such as this with a lot of weapons at their disposal. Mendo and Surefour are a great duo. And as you guys said before, old C9 had a problem against compLexity. ZP, you said it was kryptonite. New C9, definitely looks stronger here in this matchup against Cole.
I mean, at least on that map, we saw dive comp work from FaZe against compLexity, so Cloud9 ran the same thing. They were to take first point relatively easily, and then compLexity switched. After compLexity switched into Winston to try to counter Cloud9, Cloud9 switched themselves into Roadhog for Mendo, and that countered what compLexity was doing. So I think that Cloud9 outcomped compLexity in that first map.
All right.
So next map is going to be the one and only Eichenwalde, and I do feel like compLexity has had a lot of experience on this map in recent times where clearly it has been a favorite of theirs. They've been prioritizing it in tournaments when possible. And part of it probably comes down to the fact that, again, Sombra can be really effective at breaking first point pretty quickly. Doesn't always work out for compLexity, and certainly teams have gotten wise to it, but I think right now in this tournament, they still want to go with what they've practiced, and they bring C9 here to Eichenwalde.
It wouldn't surprise me if Cloud9 runs McCree yet again on defense here with Triple Tank. I think it worked really well the first time. They were able to hold off long enough, then they took high ground, and they didn't let Torque get off ult for 2 to 3 fights, as you mentioned earlier, Golden Boy. And wasting all that time was a big part of why they were able to hold it. I mean, Torque probably should have used ult and or switched earlier. Maybe compLexity doesn't make that same mistake again here.
Yeah, will lightning strike twice is the question. And, you know, I would like to see Cole answer back here, making this one, you know, 1-1. But, hey, you know, anything's possible in this Cloud9 roster. I mean, I got to highlight Rib again. He has been a joy to spectate, at least from my perspective. I've been watching a lot of Rib. As a guy who plays Reinhardt quite a bit, I love watching, you know, guys like him. What? Wait, what? Yeah. You know what?
You know, you guys have such tension between you. I kind of feel like I'm just the third wheel at this point where, you know, you guys should just spend a little bit of time in a private room and really get all your feelings out. I'm just noting that this is the third party perspective.
Okay, mediator ZP. Thank you.
Do your placement, ZP.
Oh my goodness.
Do your placements.
Anywho, he is definitely, though, going to be a player that you got to look out for. But yeah, it seems like they're going to stick to Torque on the Sombra and do what they feel is right and what works. So will this be the case as we begin Eichenwalde here with our one and only compLexity on the attack? CP, what are you expecting here, man? You know, I think it's just going to be very similar to Hollywood, where they want that, you know, that Torque EMP right away.
I'm expecting more of the same here, where Torque will be looking for the EMP right away, but remember, there's always a double threat compLexity. Harblue will be fishing for hooks, and we've seen plenty of time where compLexity doesn't even need the EMP to start things out here, because why? Harblue gets an early pickoff, and then Torque just comes in from the back. But you take a look at where he's at right now. He has EMP.
Yeah,
the health pack just gave to him. He has it incredibly quickly, under 40 seconds. Yeah. He's going to be coming in over the top and looking for that EMP engage while no one else has ultimates to deal with it.
Nicholas and Harblue actually were going back and forth with the health pack there, and that pretty much just set them up for success as they begin to progress forward. Surefour going up against Harblue here. And, you know, Surefour, of course, a player that has had some phenomenal plays in the past, and definitely looking to replicate that success here yet again. But Surefour, though, will get picked off by Sheikh Zenyatta. And meanwhile, Rib is holding things down here at the objective. You are going to have, I believe that was going to be like a lone Torque in the back lines here. Here comes Rib, and as a matter of fact, he's going to get nano boosted. Was hacked, though, for the time being. Joe Meister does clean up that kill, and compLexity right back onto this point here.
Well, the Transcendence will be coming out here for compLexity. They want to keep the pressure on. C9 has been really doing a valiant job of staying on this point, especially after that early EMP, and Surefour, no one on him in the backline, and this is a problem where compLexity, they need to throw someone on Surefour. You can't let him be uncontested in the back, certainly not on the 76 that can do so much damage when you're not hiding behind a shield. But compLexity, in the end, they have to back out and re-go at this one more time, but it's a gigantic hold from C9 here. It buys them all sorts of time and now opens up the possibility of getting that first point hold here. But there's the EMP and compLexity moving right in.
You just see all of that, and I mean, I have to say that was one of those plays that you read it like an open book. But despite that, though, not much that they could have done to stop it. Now you are going to have Joe Meister busting out that sound barrier. JKW cleaning up too. Kai and Adam were the ones to fall there, and they are going to hold this point. Now, like what JKW did, he just got right in Rib's face, said, you are not going to try and challenge this. I'm going to be the one to fight you instead, and they're able to secure that objective, thus beginning the street space.
Streets phase is underway, but again, for C9, they made compLexity pay for that. compLexity had to commit a whole lot of ultimate to take that point. And it still took them about 2 minutes, so it's really not the worst look here for C9. And you take a look at their defense, Surefour, where else would you find him here? But all the way on top, the biggest high ground in the game. And he's just going to be up here at 76, dodging hooks and looking to lay in the poke. But very lucky he wasn't taken out there. Discord Orb almost spelling his doom.
That Discord Orb, man, will shred you. But there goes the Nano Visor, and here comes Surefour looking to just rain down destruction. Finds a couple and throws some shots down, but luckily for him, he has teammates to pick up the slack. That's going to be 2 as well, and a full clear here. Harblue pretty much the last man, and he actually was coming off of the respawn, so that was just a complete clear and a great hold yet again for Cloud9.
And for C9, this is what you want out of an Eichenwalde defense. Now, they still have 3 minutes to go in point B here. It's going to take a while for them to actually secure this out, but again, you take a look at their ult situation, it's not bad. KaiKai's gonna be coming in from the back, sends his mech skyward, self-destruct on the way, taken out by Nicholas, and doesn't actually get as much as he's looking for, but the distraction does allow Surefour to win the soldier-on-soldier action. Now he's just flanking from the back, picks up 2, and C9 just gonna swarm this back line. Mendo on defensive tracer actually getting quite a bit done here, and compLexity gonna have to back off and regroup, and JKW, it's a nice charge to try and back out, but not quite enough.
Surefour was just all over that man, and that, I mean, it showed in the kill feed because they were just picking up those kills as quickly as they could, but most importantly, just the sheer damage and the brilliant tracking there from Surefour as well really just gave him the upper hand in that battle. And when he was able to actually take out was that Nicholas early on, that act with, because he had the visor open and available, that hurt them quite a bit. But speaking of visor, Surefour activates his, or it was going to activate his, but he got nano boosted and then focused on right away by JKW, who's now just trying his best to push this payload forward with his teammates, as Rib is going to be in the back line. JKW keeping an eye on that one here as progress continues. Now here comes Rib for the fight. Is he going to pin him against the wall? Charges right in there, but Rib falls right off, and this is going to be a potential hold here for compLexity if they keep going like this, because JKW's in a bit of a bad spot, but they need to be able to give him that support, and because of that, JKW keeps this one going. And I have to say, man, just some impressive tank play thus far, even though Rib caught him with a fire strike from downtown. But despite that, very good job.
Well, the problem that compLexity had, though, in that push is that they weren't able to sustain it. Why? No one is able to deal with Mendo here. The only person that can actually deal with him effectively is Harblue. So long as Mendo avoids Harblue, he's just been having himself the time of his life in the back, getting kill after kill, being an entirely large pest. And again, you look at the compLexity setup that they have here, no one can actually deal with Mendo short of Harblue. Maybe he gets hit by a random sleep dart and goes from there, but I kind of feel like they need to get a McCree or a Soldier, just something that can apply more pressure to Mendo right now, because, like I said, he's coming in from the back, and as long as he avoids Harblue, there's nothing that can stop him right now.
Well, here comes the initiation here. Joe Meister with the sound barrier, and they're going to find themselves too with that one, as well as removing KaiKai from the equation with that. Never mind, actually, the self-destruct finds Harblue above, and he will be able to get right back into this one. So KaiKai and the rest of C9 were able to hold this one off with 10 seconds left on the clock. CP, the pressure is on. They do have the ult advantage, but they have to get there. And look at JKW finding 4, but then in comes Rib from behind. Just was not expecting that, and that is going to be a hold. GG, man. That was a great round of Eichenwalde there.
I gotta say, the caster's curse is absolutely a thing, because I'm sitting here praising Mendo for being a big part of that C9 defense. And what does he do immediately after? After I've said that really only Harblue can take him out, he blinks right into a Reinhardt swinging a hammer at someone else, eats the back end of the hammer, and just falls over. But he did do enough in that push that C9 was able to hold on. They bought themselves all sorts of time, and now compLexity really on the hot seat here, where for this map to go their way, they're probably going to have to bank on getting the first point hold. But as we've seen with Eichenwalde, even today, getting the first point hold, incredibly rare, very difficult, requires immaculate defense, and honestly an offense that looks a little bit lost. And thus far, C9 has looked anything but.
This is now the second map in a row where compLexity has really gotten shut out at the middle point of the middle part of the second point. And Cloud9, I think, is really winning in the meta picks right now. I actually agree with you, ZP, that they probably should have gone McCree instead of going quad tank, which we've seen has some success earlier against FaZe. But I think, as we've seen with games of Misfits, Tracer can do a lot of damage against a lot of tanks. I would have rather them go McCree instead of quad tank. They really were not able to get much done, and now they're on the ropes of going down 0-2. And if they do that, I don't see them being able to come back and win 3 straight.
Reverse sweep's really hard to do in pretty much any venue, whether it be esports, traditional sports, or otherwise, because usually it means that you're getting outplayed to be in that hole to begin with. And again, I mean, compLexity has had C9's number in the past, but thus far C9's been playing very well. And I will note that the Tracer play coming out from C9 there sort of hits on a weak point of compLexity in general, where if compLexity is getting out team comped, they're not very quick to actually switch up and deal with it, where, you know, we were just mentioning that the McCree would have been a little bit better. They didn't really have that in their playbook, and they just sat there and let Mendo do whatever he wanted.
All right, folks, well, here we go as we start up this next round of play. Can compLexity hold them off? 1 point and some progress on the payload is all that C9 needs to do, and the wall comes through, and I couldn't tell if they were able to section off anyone out of that one, because it seemed like the whole crew came through at the same exact time. Luckily for them, they just focus on them so quickly, and that is going to pick up 2 right away. Losing Rib early on, I'm sure, is going to hurt them. Surefour able to clear up 1, but regardless of the fact, though, this is looking very, very good here for C9 as they push this one back now, and or I should say, excuse me, for compLexity, as they push this one back for the time being, and C9 has to regroup and react.
So C9, they're going to be coming back in relatively quickly here. Respawns are back in and on the way. compLexity, though, they are backing up. They're giving some degree of space, but they're not giving up the point. Harblue in a fight here, a brawl, if you will, with Surefour in the back line. D.Va, though, going to be joining the fray. They know that Harblue's a big threat, and they're just trying to isolate him out. Kai, though, is he biting off more than he can chew? It is a big one-on-one here in the back, and no, Kai going to win that one-on-one versus Harblue, and now, without Harblue's support, Cloud9 in a great position to take this point.
Oh, and throws it back there, is able to find Joe Meister with that self-destruct, and that is just going to be a stop and a clear. Not today, they say. Cloud9 gets control of the point and 1 on the board. All they have to do is get right to that yellow checkpoint, and it will be GG here on this round. Can they do it? Not a lot of distance, like this certainly was a round for Cloud9, man, because they have just been on fire.
C9, it's been really hard for compLexity to stop them here. compLexity will have 3 ultimates up for this next fight. But note where compLexity has to defend this. compLexity has to be very far up in their defense. They can't really go on the high ground like they'd want to, because they have to contest every part of this payload. They don't have that much wiggle room to work with here. They did not get it to second point themselves, so they have to be the iron wall, and they're going to do just that. Blizzard coming out here from compLexity as they push into C9.
Yeah, and a sound barrier to boot, so they're really looking to commit into this fight here and do some work. But in comes the sound barrier for Cloud9, courtesy of Adam. Kai is going to be in a bad position, but it won't really matter because Mendo is going to find himself 3 Kai with the cleanup crew on JKW, and they are so close. They could smell it right around the bend, and that will be it for this round and for this game on Eichenwalde. ZP, it's getting really close to the wire here. compLexity has to do something now.
They do have to do something now, and unfortunately for compLexity, that's the entire dynamic where if Harblue doesn't land an early hook, it's really rough for them to have the damage to deal with C9. Now, Rib is down early on this fight, but Mendo still holding to his Dragon Blade. C9, they have 3 minutes and 15 seconds left. I agree with what they're doing here, where they're just backing out. They could have burned some ultimates and tried to go for that, and who knows, maybe they could have won it, but why take that fight without Rib when you have such a huge advantage in time right now? You still have 3 ultimates up and at the ready, and you can just sort of slam into compLexity here in just a moment.
Yeah, credit to Harblue there, who came up on the bridge and was able to hook Rib and bring him to his, make him fall to his death. That was unfortunate, but yeah, and again, C9, right? It takes a lot to be able to say, like, all right, this is it. We're not going to win this fight. Let's just hold it back. We have so much time left. Let's just make this one work. They have 3 ults. They have Mendo with the Dragon Blade, and expect Mendo to go in when the opportunity calls for it here. Kai also has the self-destruct. So this fight is just so dangerously close here for compLexity. But here you go. Mendo is going to dive right in there. Rib will find himself an Earth Shatter as well. Adam and Mendo and Kai and the rest of C9 are having their way with compLexity. Joe, I give you all the credit in the world, brother, but it ain't going to happen. And that will do it. C9 takes Eichenwalde 2-1.
And that last engage, that was a complete team effort there from C9. Everyone dove in at pretty much the same point. They isolated compLexity when they were in a bad positioning, and you can't really credit any one individual person there. It was just good team play coming out from C9, and they caught compLexity off guard. Now, in fairness, compLexity really had to defend in a very awkward position. Normally they would have defended a little bit further back, they would have used the high ground more, but because of where the payload was, due to an attack that just wasn't that effective, they didn't have that luxury on the defense. And man, speaking of Mendo, dash, reset, picking up 3, and big part of why C9 was able to cut through there. So C9, one more game away from moving on into the grand finals.
So I believe coming into this series that compLexity would actually be a pretty good matchup in terms of their comps, just like they gave trouble to FaZe. But in turn, it's been Cloud9 giving compLexity the issues. One, it's been Cloud9 running dive comp, which compLexity has not really had an answer to on defense. And as soon as they had to switch into it, the card's been pushed too far, and Cloud9's been able to build up too many ults to be able to really stop it. And when compLexity has been on offense, yes, the Sombra has worked like relatively okay, but as soon as they've gotten to the second point, they've gotten stopped by HitScan, which has always taken high ground on both Hollywood and now on Eichenwalde, and they really haven't had an answer, and/or they haven't switched off of it soon enough. Part of me believes that Kai is a big part of this, and his diva play is a big upwards momentum in terms of compared to Shadowburn. At the same time, Harblu is not hitting enough hooks, not being enough of a presence here in this match as they need him to if they want to win.
But on some level, isn't that a little bit unfair to Harblu in the sense that I feel like for compLexity, the story for a long time has been, oh, Harblu, either he's hitting hooks and they're winning, or they're not hitting hooks and they're not winning. When you take a look at other teams have historically been a little bit more complete than compLexity, where they can have their Roadhog put them in or the top, but they can also rely on more contribution from their DPS players. And I still feel like the TJOs are very variable from day to day, where some days they'll be great and Torque will be having just as big of a day as Harblu, but then, as we saw in this last map, it felt like no one was having a good game, including Harblu. And I don't know if it's necessarily fair to go, well, just Harblu. I mean, no, I think it's a team effort there, and Harblu definitely could have used a little bit of help.
Nicholas has been quiet.
Yeah,
Nicholas definitely has been quiet, and they need him to step up and be able to play as well as Cloud9's HitScan players are if they want a chance to win. But Harblu, because of the Roadhog in the meta and him, knowing him as probably the best Roadhog in North America, it kind of is up to him also to be able to hit probably a lot of hooks. A lot of hooks.
Yeah. But I will note one extra thing there in regards to that.
Oh, go ahead.
Is that, yes, he is one of the best Roadhogs in North America, but the other thing, too, is that don't forget the entire theory that if you know one player is the player that you have to avoid and you'll actually win, you can sort of play around Harblu. You can give him more space than you would other Roadhogs. You can really go for his other teammates and make it a situation where, all right, you're not going to let Harblu beat you. You want the rest of compLexity to beat you. And Harblu might not be getting the opportunities that other Roadhogs might be in this situation.
I'll tell you what. See how this is going to work out, because if there's one map that this squad needs to pick up, compLexity, Dorado would certainly be it. And also, hate to be the obvious man here, but if they don't win it, that's it. They're out. So all the speculation of Sombras and, craziness and the blahs and the doodads and, my Cosby is also on top. It's just all going to come down to this, folks. So I'm quite pumped, man, because I think we're going to have ourselves quite the battle here. As for compLexity, this is it.
Well, the one thing that's really interesting to me here is that we don't see C9 coming out the May, where a lot of times where they have been on Dorado, and just first points in general that they like putting Surefour on the Mei. Instead, they're opting here with a little bit more power. They're keeping Surefour on the 76, and they just want to cut through complexity as quick as they can. But Rolf ends up taking a ball to the head to start things out here. C9 going to be down a huge source of healing per second, and this is a great opportunity here for complexity. I think they're going to be pretty sad if they don't come through a successful first attack after getting that first pick off.
Yeah, always getting those first picks, you know, first blood, so important here. Doesn't matter the game. If you're able to just tip the odds in your favor by, you know, losing a man there, you can answer and get yourself what you want here, get to that objective. Meanwhile, Nicholas and the rest of the crew doing their best to be able to focus down on Rib here, and that is going to be a successful stop on Rib. Harblue focusing down as well with that Zarya, and some great play, picking up 3, and he was going to be fully charged for that one as well. And only person left alive will be D.Va. Bless you, child. Not going to happen today, and that is going to be 1 point for complexity right away, and not a lot of time spent on that one there, ZP.
So Harblue might have had all the flashy cleanup there, and credit where credit is due for that Zarya play. But the true hero for me was Shake. Shake got that pickoff on the Wolf, threaded the needle, took him out, and trying to defend first without the healing contribution of Ana, much more difficult. So for C9, they're gonna have to reset completely here on second, and to their credit, they will have a nanovisor up, but here we go, Surefour. Nanovisor in progress, and I don't like the way that they're initiating this. We've seen over and over again now in this meta where you're better off with the soldier to wait to go for the flank on the nanovisor, not rush it, and C9, they just said, okay, we see the other team, nanovisor. Teams have gotten used to that now, and they're not gonna give you those free pickoffs.
Yeah, they backed away completely. They're ready with 5 ults, maybe 6, a full stack potentially if JKW can get to his. And this will certainly be a situation where for Cloud9, they do not want to have happen to them. And Surefour has to go for that back line and do the damage there with his Helix rockets and his AR, but not happening because you are going to have some good reads there for complexity as they bust out their Transcendence. Surefour now with the sound barrier along with the rest of his teammates. They want to be able to clear out JKW as quickly as they could and be able to just keep themselves moving here and keep this one in their favor, but it's just getting really difficult as yet the sound barrier now drops for complexity, and Surefour is doing everything in his power to be able to fight this one back, and finally they stop the push here from Cole for the time being.
Well, Surefour being very successful in fighting that back towards the very end, and again, the issue is that if Nicholas is down, there's no one that can actually get in and deal with Surefour. He really needs a D.Va in his face, because if D.Va isn't in his face, he's going to be free to do whatever he wants from the side ground. There's no one else on the complexity side that can actually deal with Surefour right now. So for Nicholas, his only job right now needs to be to mitigate Surefour, stop that engine of damage, and create a distraction for his team to go in while Surefour is occupied.
And also, speaking of Nicholas, will have that self-destruct. Does he decide to use it is the question, which he will get hooked as well, but it won't really matter all that much. Luckily for him, that hook stopped right at the tip of the building here. And here comes Nicholas. You said before that he had to get on top and really deal with Surefour, and they're just opting to back away, realizing that they lost JKW. It was going to be a failed push if they tried to go at it on their own. So smart play from them to disengage when they knew that the going was going to get tough, and they are going to have 5 ultimates available to them here. So the ult advantage certainly in complexity's favor.
Complexity does have the ult advantage, and I like the fact that they're coming in from the high ground here. It's going to at least put Surefour a little bit back with the rest of his team, not let him be off on an island by himself, just daring the D.Va to come in and attack him. And Surefour actually having to back up. This is a little bit ill-timed because here comes the offensive Complexity, although they open up the attack visor. Again, not always the greatest, but it does result in Mendo being taken out. I think Mendo is a little bit out of position here, so Complexity, they've earned themselves a 6v5. They come with the Graviton, but Surefour coming in on flank with attack visor of his own.
Yeah, he's going to have attack visor and the nano boost and just looking to rain down destruction. But as you said before, you need Nicholas to get in his face, and that's exactly what he did. Before things could get a little bit hairy, he was able to dive in. Was it quick enough was the question, although this push has stopped here for complexity for the time being. Still, though, that was a good read overall from Nicholas, doing exactly what he needs to do with that D.Va.
I mean, I don't know. I think the thing for Nicholas is that Nicholas didn't get there in time. Surefour's tack visor was pretty much done by the time Nicholas came up there. He had the right idea, but it was just a little bit slow in that case. And again, this is where for a 76 that is as good as Surefour, he needs to be contained. Nicholas can't be wasting time playing the shield game right now. He needs to get in on Surefour, period, because he has been the raid boss that compLexity has not really dealt with here all that well. Now, they will have Sound Barrier going into this next fight. Both teams actually have a whole lot of ultimates, so this is an ultimate showdown coming up. 52 seconds left on the clock. This very well could decide the fate of Dorado and the fate of the series for compLexity.
Well, folks, it could be the 4th of July because it is going to be fireworks here for both of these teams. And here comes compLexity now. Sound Barrier is going to fall. Will they be able to do much with this one as they do take out Mendo? So that's going to be pretty big for them. Surefour, yet again, though, is left uncontested and continues to just rain down some shots. The Discord Orb, though, I would say from Shake was certainly a smart play there because it forced him to have to hang back. And now the Nano Visor yet again as he finds one. Maybe he looks for a second one as well. That's going to be Harblue challenging him right above.
Oh, no, not like this!
Harblue fell off the map. That he said, oops. Oh, that right there is one of those things you just don't want to have.
They might lose the point because of this. Oh my goodness. That is not what you want in your resume. Harblue with one of the biggest oops that we might have seen in Overwatch here because C9, they're coming back onto this point. You know it'd be really useful here, Golden Boy. A Roadhog that was still in decent health before he slid off the cliff. Oh no.
Oh my goodness gracious, man. That is just... That's why I love this game. So good. And Surefour just continues to have his way with compLexity right at the checkpoint. Not today, they say. And Cloud9 stops Cole. And they only allowed him to pick up one. Slasher, let's hear it, buddy. I know you want to talk about it.
I mean, okay, that was not Harblue's finest moment. And might have cost them second point, might have cost them the map, might have cost them the series. But ignoring all that, okay, really that wasn't the main problem. The main issue is compLexity actually got first point on their first team fight. Harblue went Zarya, and that went really well for them. The issue that's been in this map and for this entire series is that they have had problems during second point in getting things done. They didn't get the second point in this map, they didn't get the second point in Hollywood, they didn't get the second point in Eichenwalde. And they really have had issues, I think, conserving ults and using them at the right times and also switching to the comps that they need to be able to take these points. I mean, they've let Cloud9 take control of high ground and really not being able to contest them as much as they should be.
Yeah. Do you think that falls on Nicholas there? Because I know ZP, you were pretty vocal about it, but Slasher, I want to get your thoughts on that as well, because, you know, Nicholas was focusing a lot on shielding and not a lot. Toward the end, he recognized he had to get in Surefour's face. But what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I would think so. I mean, you know how good Surefour is on McCree and on Soldier. If you don't contest him long enough, he's just going to put in so much damage and be able to get ults over and over and over, especially Attack Visor, which can combo into Ana ult, which is so good right now. You have to be able to stop that as much as you can. They didn't put as much pressure on Surefour that they needed to throughout these maps. I think that's a big reason why they're in a pretty big hole right now.
So I do want to rewind time a little bit and talk about the Harblue play there. Not so much when he fell off, but it's a little bit unfair to say that it was his fault. Even if he didn't fall off, they might have taken the point, because the entire reason why they were close to taking the point is that Harblue went in there and got multiple pickoffs that otherwise compLexity wasn't getting. So Harblue created the opportunity for them to win and then might have slipped off towards the end. But I do want to give credit where credit is due, is that Harblue had an amazing series of plays right up until the slip off. But we are here on the attack. C9 gonna be running with Mendo and the Genji, and this is interesting. He doesn't have a whole lot of help here. There's no Winston, there's no Tracer, it's just a Mendo in the backfield and everyone else coming up the front.
Waiting for the prime opportunity, you know, just classic Genji, right? Getting in the back lines and, you know, getting in some poke and just trying to harass as much as they possibly could. Mendo's waiting for that prime opportunity to attack. Really can't get on that wall, so bless you, child. Please. Maybe you just try something else. Yeah, I hope you're catching this on camp. It was absolutely hilarious.
He was really struggling to get up there.
And I love it because you see the camera waving around really fast, and he's like, yeah, no, he's pissed. Anyway, here we go, though, as he's just going to look to get some more damage on top. And look at that, man, just taking out JKW there. from the back lines, and that has to be very, very annoying for compLexity. And they're looking to emulate exactly what C9 did last time as well, by being able to just get that first point so quickly. But now you do have yourself a compLexity team that just ran over them just as I said that. And that will be a clear. So no first fight capture for you, my friends. Try again.
So I will note here for Harblu, maybe it's just wanting to get a little bit of revenge from last map, but that is an incredibly quick Graviton to have up, especially post-patch, where ultimates do charge up slower, where Zarya doesn't get as much energy. But it was really the Graviton by Harblu that set that up, and I don't think the offense of C9 was even ready for it, because it's a really quick Graviton. But here comes C9. Soundbearer up and at the ready. Nicholas already down, and Surefour gonna be zoning things out here at the Deadeye. Finds JKW. 2 quick kills here from C9, and C9 well on their way to getting this very first point. compLexity, they're going to struggle a little bit here. They have the Soundbearer out and at the ready, but it's really just too little, too late.
Yeah, nothing that they could really do about that one, as this will be a point for Surefour and company. Cloud9 looking great thus far. They only have a little bit of progress to make, and this will be GG. That will be it. Cloud9 will be moving on to their matchup against Immortals. Can compLexity find the answer that they need here? And you know what? I mean, I think that they can, but it's going to be very, very difficult. This is still a very talented, top team at the end of the day, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here, but it will be very, very challenging for them, given how Cloud9's been playing thus far, ZT.
Well, Mendo right now is waiting for that perfect Dragon Blade opportunity, just sitting here on the ledge, waiting for D.Va to go in. D.Va goes in, Mendo goes in, does not bring out the blade just yet, doesn't really like the lay of the land, and here comes the D.Va ult coming out from Nicholas into the backline, picks down 2, and just like that, compLexity will be holding on here on second, at least for a little bit longer. And unfortunately for C9, Mendo actually used his Dragon Blade just to take out Harblu. I know Harblu is a pretty good player, but definitely not worth, especially as your team is dying all around you. So yeah, that's unfortunate there for C9. They're going to be down a key weapon as they respawn, and actually compLexity in a very good position here. Harblu going to have Graviton up in the next fight. Torque has the Tac Visor. compLexity has a real shot of holding at least for the next fight.
Actually, you got to give a shout out to Torque on that one too, because when Mendo bust out the Dragon Blade, he was right there and just raining down. He did not have any deflect, so that hurt them quite a bit. Nicholas and Shake are able to clear out 2 key players in Surefour and Mendo, and now this is going to have to be yet another disengage here for Cloud9. Not making much progress with this one, as Torque did bust out that Tac Visor. Adam is just not in the best of position, but he will have some support there, and that will be Harblu backing away for the time being. He will have Rib as well as their Roadhog, and Mendo switched out from Genji to Hog to answer, as he wasn't really getting much out of that Genji, so I think that was a good switch. We'll see how this plays out for them.
Surefour now is going to be coming up the flank here on the Soldier once more. No longer everyone's favorite cowboy, and looking for Shake in the back. Shake, though, able to give him the shake, so to speak, and Torque is there at the fall through, so Surefour, the flank not going to be so successful. And Torque actually, he does have a D.Va in his face towards Vera, and gets hooked, so this will be the end of him. But there comes the self-destruct late in the fight from compLexity, as they're doing their best to actually hold this back. It is back and forth, but they have a bit of a numbers advantage. Still, Mendo creeping in from the back, trying to keep momentum in C9's favor, and that kill might have done just that.
Yeah, Mendo actually was really close to death, because that self-destruct that went off knocked him over to the side, and he had just a couple of, a little bit of HP, I should say, a little bit of health remaining. But now Mendo, will, with that bio nade trying to keep him alive, will go whole hog, but he doesn't really get much out of it, just gets those clears, and he really, really wants to nail those hooks and some of those key targets. But this fight has continued to rage on. There goes the Graviton, though. Finally, Mendo is going to fall, despite that Rib was right in front of him. Mendo, or actually say he was in front of Rib, so Rib couldn't protect him with that shield, and yet another disengage. 1 minute, 3 seconds left on the clock, CP. They have themselves another push here, and they will have Rolf as well as Surefour with that Nano Visor combination perhaps, and Adam in a little bit with the sound barrier, so expect him to use that to initiate, or at least that's what I would imagine, considering how close they are to that checkpoint.
Well, here's the key thing here for C9. They don't want to go with the raw nano visor. At the very least, they need a little bit of a distraction. Rib, he's known for going pretty deep in. This is where I'd love to see Rib go in, at least make some degree of movement out of complexity before Surefour goes for this ultimate. Now, they don't have time as a luxury right now. It's only 25 seconds, and there it is. It's a raw nano visor, but he knew Joe Meister didn't have that protection anymore, so it works out. Surefour flanks around the side, only has one here thus far, will get sort of thrown into the trash there by the opposing 76, but C9 making the most of it here. 2-1 in their favor, but complexity fighting it right back.
Yeah, they ended up losing Rib in that fight. Kai is going to be left alone here. Does he get a lucky self-destruct to keep his team very much in this matchup? Finds himself Joe Meister there, but will it be enough though? Because he's just surrounded by members of complexity, and that will basically be curtains here. Can't see anyone there for the dispute unless you have Rib who can get there in time, which he does manage to do so, has to be near that payload, and is dragged away immediately. Meanwhile, Mendo with the 76, not today, says Nicholas, as he finds himself a target. 3 down here, and that will do it. Held at the gate, and no second point there for Cloud9. Complexity, good job out of them.
You know, I think the best part of this here for complexity is that now when people mention this to Harblu can go, but we won that game. I didn't cause us to lose the game. Because complexity came out, they had a very good hold to stay alive, but they still have to pull off the full reverse sweep if they want to win the series. But here comes play the game from Harblu on Zarya, and again, a little bit of a redemption story here for Harblu. Definitely had himself some very good Zarya plays and made up for his oops moment.
He just shot the floor and he just dived in, man. That was awesome. Well, you know what? Complexity, they will live to fight another day, as we have scratched off Hollywood, Eichenwalde, and Dorado, which leaves us with only 2, Nepal and Volskaya.
I can't see them picking Volskaya, so I'm pretty sure we're going to be going to Nepal next.
Yeah.
I mean, Cloud9 does have a map to work with, so maybe you just go to Volskaya and see what happens, and you leave King of the Hill for the end. But a 5th map, Volskaya, okay, they are going to go to Nepal. I think a clutch Earthshatter coming out from JKW at the end there. They did have Sound Barrier. They also had Attack Visor with Nano Boost, and I really thought they were going to win that last team fight 6-on-5. The complexity was able to clutch it out. I think Harblu going Zarya was a big change for them, and it did work out a lot well. Cloud9 has been focusing Harblu on Roadhog and making his life very difficult, but Harblu switching over to Zarya, I think, made Kaika's life more difficult now, as he's been playing Diva this entire time. So they finally were also able to get in Surefour's face on high ground. They didn't let Surefour get pepper in a lot of damage coming around the right side of Church. So complexity doing a lot better.
I'm glad you mentioned that too, because Surefour initially was on the McCree and all the rest, and it was really complexity getting in his face that sort of said, okay, I can't actually do this anymore. I don't have the space I need, and that's why we saw the swap up to Soldier. And I mean, Surefour in general was much more under pressure that game than he was at any other point earlier in the series. So I think complexity at the very least is recognizing who one of the main threats is, and it's not that C9 can't play around this and can't change up their strategy, but at the very least you want to make C9 change up their strategy. And I know my hat just fell off it. Unfortunately, it has a mind of his own, but good for me. We are getting into Nepal, and the camera is off me, so that's now a thing.
Yeah, if you had never mentioned it, I never would have known. So just saying. Right now, I'm gonna make fun of you, off camera.
All right, that's fair.
Stream.
Now, even though that dive comps have been working for Cloud9 so far, FaZe went dive comp here on King of the Hill earlier, and Complexity responded with Quad Tank. So I don't think we'll see Cloud9 do that as much, especially because they've been using Mei pretty effectively throughout these King of the Hill maps. And as of what we're seeing now, I'm pretty sure that will continue.
Yeah, looks like we're potentially going to have Reinhardt, Hog, Zen, Lucio. Okay, so about what we would expect here. 2 Meis as well. So yeah, I mean, the only real difference here, you have Torque, well actually you have Torque and Shake running the Ana and 76 combination. Torque looking to continue to just rain down with that hit scan DPS. Let's see how this plays out here, folks, as this is a big matchup now for Complexity. And if they do manage to win this, we're going to ZP's favorite map, Volskaya. So let's see how this works out.
I'm okay with it being called my favorite map, because no one else will stick up for Volskaya. I have to stick up for Volskaya. But regardless, complexity right now, they're prioritizing the point. They get onto it immediately, and they're going to make C9 come to them, which is they're completely okay with here. Nicholas holding onto the wall, hoping that someone goes in through that doorway so he can split them off. Was really hoping that Rib would take the bait. Rib, though, a little bit smarter than that, knows the maze there, and Kai just going for a little bit of melting on the corner. C9 starting to surround the building, looking to evict them, but with Rib dying early, complexity could bust right out here.
Yeah, and keep in mind too, Torque did drop down that health pod, so you know they're going to do their absolute best to just keep everyone in this fight. That one actually was a really good use of that ability there, because there were a couple people who were in a bit of a pickle. So luckily for them, able to get right into this, and that is going to be 25% earned here for complexity to open things up. So not bad at all. Can they continue on this momentum? They will have the ult advantage by a significant amount, because Joe Meister will also have 93% on that sound barrier, and Torque will be about 87% on his tack visor. So central nano visor combination, you know, you can see old fashioned pop up with JKW. Who knows here at this point, CG?
Well, sure, for right now, we'll be looking for the Blizzard here just to make a whole lot of room. Blizzard does come down, and most of complexity, they just walk right out of it. But no, it's actually Torque walking back into it. Bit of a mistake there towards the end, but complexity, they get 3 kills regardless. Blizzard, for the most part, does miss them. And Sure4 quickly running out of friends and allies right now. That's never where May wants to be, in the middle of 5 angry people waiting to take her out. And now, for complexity, they have 3 ultimates at the ready. C9 way behind an ult economy, and fortunately for C9, given that the time is now at 75%, C9 only has 1 major push left here, and there's so many ways that complexity can trap them and win this round.
I mean, you know, right away, the first thing I see is Nicholas and the Blizzard. Right, that right there is enough to just really ruin their day. And JKW with that Earth Shatter as well. But here comes JKW on the charge. Does he drop down the Earth Shatter? The Blizzard's going to be there. Say goodbye to Rib, because he won't be long for this world. 98% left. Overtime in effect. And the Earth Shatter comes through despite the Graviton Surge. Will they be able to get the clear, though? Seems like Mendo has other plans, because they clear out 2 with that one. And this is going to be a pickup now for complexity, but only 1 fight remains, and one fight remains, but 1 fight is all it takes for complexity to take this first point.
So that's very interesting there, where C9, they were at a huge disadvantage going in. They were still able to not really fall to the Graviton, move in, and take control of the point. So now, take a look here. Mendo being sneaky, looking for the early pickoff here. That'd be huge for C9 to win this next fight. We're going to see Torque come in with the tack visor, but again, this is a raw tack visor, which historically has not been that great. Doesn't get much of anything. Maybe makes Kai feel a little bit uncomfortable, but that's it. Mendo, though, big hook on the Torque, and C9 going to come right back in. The Blizzard doing its job. And again, I don't know if what has to be said here, the competitive soldiers, but please stop engaging with raw tactical visors. It really does not work that often. Teams have gotten wise to it.
You never want to go in raw, you know?
No.
Just
you definitely do not.
I had an opportunity and I went for it, baby. I'm never getting the call back again. Anyway.
Golden who? That one guy?
Oh my goodness gracious. Anyway, here we go. 1 more attack now. Could this be the one that Cloud9 needs? They lose Torque early. Say goodbye to Shake, because that's not going to be happening. Harblue is pretty much in a really bad spot here. Is going to get focused down right away. And Joe Meister is just doing what he can, gets frozen and stalled out. And all this time that they're wasting on that is just so smart, because they're really close to winning this one.
Well, they're very close, and now because Joe Meister isn't going to be with them right away, they're going to have to go in here a little bit before he gets back to the fight. So C9 has turned this entire match around here. A nice wall by Sure4, the wall people out. 2 kills here from C9, and the control from Sure4 paying dividends. 3 kills from C9, and complexity not even able to touch the point once more. What a comeback there from C9. And for complexity, there's nothing more they can say than they let them off the hook.
I mean, talk about Mendo's hooks, talk about the tack visors that, you know, had no real support there. I mean, really, that was just insane. What a hold from Cloud9 when the cards were stacked against them. One bad fight, and that was it. Cole had the victory. And now as we get ready for this next round here, folks, one has to wonder how complexity is feeling right now, because they surely must be frustrated.
For compLexity, that's not an easy thing to recover from there, where you had everything going for you, and even the fight where they lost the point, they had such a gigantic ultimate advantage going in. It's not a great look, and obviously it's a great comeback from C9, but any great comeback usually requires a bit of negligence on the team that gave up that comeback, and oh my goodness, Harblue just getting separated out there. 2 quick kills coming in here from C9, and compLexity gonna find themselves shut out to start off Sanctum.
Mendo on Hog has been a beast, to say the least, man. He is playing out of his mind. He's getting some great hooks. And not only that, he's really just nailing those shots when they really matter, even those long range ones as well, and good predictive hooks too. Even if they don't, you know, catch anything, the fact that he's still thinking about those things really shows. And Torque, oh buddy, you were in a bad place there, my friend. He got walled off and he just couldn't quite get back into the hole with the rest of his team. You will have a really, really bad situation here developing if they're not careful. Harblue and Mendo will fall, so the Hogs will take a seat for the time being now. And this is yet another stop here in favor of Cloud9. They're keeping their momentum rolling.
C9, they have had incredible control over the last 2 rounds, and a lot of it comes down to what Sheriff has been doing here. He's had great walls, even there towards the end of the last fight where compLexity might have wanted to get out. No, throws up the wall, slams the door on them, and now look at this next fight coming up. Here's the wall, Blizzard going to be coming in, compLexity already all out of sorts. They have not had a good answer to this Mei, and as a result, C9 very likely to take this next fight.
Yeah, C9 is looking poised for victory here, folks. Will this be another stop for Cloud9? They're at the front door. They're not letting them in. They're bad neighbors, and they want none of it. Good job here from C9, man. 67% on this, and they are not showing any signs of slowing down. They have 2 ultimates. What is this? Kai's going to have his as well in a little bit, so look for that Graviton Surge to really, really be a difference maker here. And a great wall as well, sectioning off Torque and Nicholas to TJO Bros. Not today. And Earthshatter will fall down as well. And that was a little bit on the riskier side, but despite that, though, still can't get through the front door, CT.
JKW just nowhere to go. They're surrounded by enemies on all sides. A wall behind them. Does get the charge on the roof, though, so perhaps C9 overstaying their welcome. The sound barrier does come out from compLexity, and this is really the last gasp of a corn animal. No, they're not able to get onto the point in time.
Oh, wow.
The enough stall was done there, so as a result now, compLexity finding themselves truly against the wall. They're going to need the reverse sweep here on Nepal, and they're going to need to find an answer to the control that's been coming out here from Surefour, where, sure, compLexity have been running a Mei of their own, but it is a little bit different when you're trying to retake the point versus when you have the point. The Mei, when you hold the point, much more effective. I don't know if compLexity actually wanted to stand the Mei for as long as they did, at least while they were trying to retake the point away from Surefour.
Folks, here we go. Will this be it? Slasher, any thoughts before we go into this one?
I do have to say that Rolf on Zen is coming in huge, especially on these King of the Hill maps. Instead of putting him on Ana, even with triple tank, they are relying on him to D Zen. They are confident with him on Zen, and maybe Shake should be playing Zen for compLexity in these games.
Well, C9 right now looking to get in once more. The wall does come out from Nicholas, trying to keep out Mendo. Not super successful at that, only delays him for a moment. Mendo, though, will be missing that hook, ends up going to sleep instead, and this is a nice turnaround and flow here for compLexity. Lets him get the first pick off on the rib, and now they're moving in on the 65, and with those 2 key early pickoffs, this should be compLexity's point to grab. And now we'll see what happens now that Nicholas has the advantage of being the defending Mei.
They really needed this, man. They needed a win so bad because they were getting stomped on. And of course, when you're in this kind of a situation, you feel like nothing is working. And despite your best efforts, everything's falling apart. And that's never a good feeling. So for compLexity to get this one surely is great. But keep in mind, though, you had Torque falling early on. Losing that Zarya could be huge for them because now they've also lost Shake, and Harblue's going to be frozen off on the side, and it seems like this could be a potential victory for Mendo and the crew, and it is. They get possession of the hill, only giving compLexity 32 on the board.
And for compLexity, even though they're running the Mei, they weren't really as aggressive there as they should have been in going for the quick wall pickoff. Now they're going to find themselves having to, again, deal with the terror that was C9's control here, whether it be Kai with great gravitons, Sure4 with the walls and blizzards. It's going to be rough, but C9 actually holding really far back here. They don't engage as aggressively as they should, and it leaves open the window for Mendo to get picked off, and here comes compLexity. So C9 committing basically the same mistake that compLexity just did, as compLexity comes in and picks off 2.
But the sound barrier from Adam was going to do his best to keep everyone in this fight. Just not going to be the case, though. Fallen will be Cloud9. Not today. This is back and forth. We can't handle this. My heart, I'm old. This has just been a back and forth affair. And of course, for compLexity, this is it, right? 2 points here for Cloud9. If they lose this, that's it. GG, they're out of this competition. So Harblue and the crew know that their backs are against the wall, and they're showing up big time, and they're not letting this one get away from them the way it was last in those previous rounds.
The Rib right now is ready. The party moving in, bumping heads with the other Reinhardt, holding onto his Earthshower, but he's going to get frozen. The Blizzard not really agreeing with him whatsoever. 3 kills here from the side compLexity, and they're going to be pushing out C9. And remember, this is a must-win round here for compLexity. They cannot have it go the other way. Now, for C9 coming into the next fight, they will have a Blizzard, they will have Earthshatter. They do have outs coming in here. compLexity, they only need to win this one fight. They'll at least take a round here and be on the way to a reverse sweep. That's still a long road for compLexity, but this is a round that, of course, they must win. But here comes C9. Sure4 going to be looking to make things chilly to start this out.
Oh, and there's the Blizzard, and drops down on Shake right away. And that was just so well played from Sure4. He fell right in, and I'm almost certain Shake just was not expecting that. Despite their best efforts, Torque is able to clear out 2. Now it's going to be Nicholas' turn to give everyone the cold shoulder. And this is looking great for compLexity. Can they hold it down? They clear out Adam. And this will be a point earned for Cole, and they really needed that one.
They absolutely did need that, and the problem is that Sure4, even though he immediately jumped down and got 2 at the Blizzard, they were able to get out immediately. They didn't convert any kills off of that Blizzard, and then compLexity was able to just rope a dope long enough to get a Blizzard of their own and put that fight back in their favor. But again, the road here is long for compLexity. They're going to have to win the next 2 maps, and frankly, of the 2, and it's a multi-factor thing here, it's not just all on one player. As Uber would say, that's the type of analysis you should reject. However, there has been a difference between Nicholas and Sure4 overall, where Sure4 has been getting a little bit more value off his control and certainly more value on his Blizzards in totality. And I think the key here for compLexity is that they will need Harblue to come in, get a few more hooks, and more so than anything else, I think they just need to win this first fight, because where Sure4 is most deadly is when C9 has first control. So if compLexity can get first control here, win this first fight, I think their odds of actually taking this go up pretty dramatically.
So that's going to be the thing you got to pay attention to here. As Nicholas, actually, they lose their Mei out pretty early, and JKW just dives right in there, and just look at those hooks from Harblue. You said you need to have those hooks, and that's exactly what happened here. But Harblue instead gets answered back by Rib and drags him over to the other side, and this is not looking good for them, as they will capture the first point, Cloud9. And what you talked about before was Sure4, definitely going to be a player to look out for. Does he play better on the defense with his Mei rather than on the attack? This is going to be his time to shine here as they hold this one, and they're starting to gain those points.
Well, the key to that last fight is that Mendo got an early pick off his Roadhog, waited a moment, waited those 6 seconds, got another pick off, and that was that. And it has put C9 in this great position. Rib gets on the Jailmeister here. It's a quick early pick off for C9. And now it's getting a little bit messy, but there's the wall from Sure4, going to zone out a whole lot of compLexity here as Mendo getting the hook attempts every 6 seconds. Here comes Nicholas, down goes Nicholas, and C9 going to be holding this fight once more. And again, big credit where credit is due. That was a great wall by Sure4 to split the fight and stop compLexity from potentially turning that around.
Yeah, Nicholas has been a non-factor so far. You know, he had that one wall there, that the what was it, the straight wall instead of more or less blocking the doorway, trying to section things off. I mean, it was just one of those plays that worked out really well, and Sure4 is timing those walls so nice. And look at that there, yet again, he doesn't really get much out of it, but he does drop the Blizzard right at the opening, and he had a plan and he went for it there. Torque is in a bad spot as well. well. And does Surefour come out on top? Yes, he does. And losing out that Zarya is really going to hurt. And look at yet another wall here that Surefour is going to nail, and not giving Harblue any opportunity to get a hook or whatever it may have you. This has been a phenomenal hold for Cloud9. They're 84%. They have one more attack here, Z, one more, and they have to nail this right now.
So for compLexity, this is do or die. They're going to get walled out to start this off. They're still going to get a chance to touch the point in all likelihood, but it makes them have to rush even more so here. Earthshatter coming down here from Rib. Rib, the terror in the corner, knocking down 3, rolling right in, grabs Torque early on. Surefour piling on with a little bit of freeze action himself. It's 4 kills here from C9, and C9, they've gotten over the hump. They have defeated their Kryptonite right here on Nepal. They're going to take it the series over compLexity 3-1 and book their way back into the grand finals, where they're going to try and get some revenge on the Immortals.
Wow. Great game. Slasher, your thoughts there? What were some of your key takeaways?
Mendo coming in huge on King of the Hill this time. I mean, maybe he had a slow start earlier in the day and yesterday on Roadhog, but he's really come into it in this series and the previous series. In that last round, getting 3 kills, starting it off, I think was a big deal for them. I think that Cloud9 also outcomped compLexity for the most part. compLexity tried to run 2-2-2 with Torque on Soldier for the first 2 rounds. Finally, when they mirrored Cloud9's comp, they actually won a round. In that final round, things didn't go so well at the beginning, and it's very hard to retake the point on that particular map. The other big part of it is, Shake and Rolf might be 2 of the best supports in North America, and that was part of the big battle between these 2 teams. I really do like Cloud9 putting Rolf on Zen, even though they're going triple tank for a lot of their meta. Especially on King of the Hill, we know how good Wolf can be, and Zen could be super impactful, probably a little bit more so than Ana compared to King of the Hill, because speed boost has been reduced on the Ana ult. It is not as impactful as before, not to mention you don't have Reaper, so you don't have the Beyblade, and you don't have the Ana combo for Ryan, which isn't, it's not like you can't just send Ryan and go kill the entire team anymore. You do have to set up the Ana ult a little bit more, and that's a little bit harder for these games. Zen is a bit more consistent, and I think that fits that King of the Hill style a little more. Maybe compLexity switching into Zen, because we know how great Shake is on Zen, would have helped their comp a bit more, especially considering they went 2-2-2 with Soldier for a few of those rounds.
All right.
So going forward, we're going to have Cloud9, of course, versus Immortals, and it is the salty run back, as it were. What do you think we can expect from this, Rod, going forward? Now, obviously, we're going to save a little bit of this for when Hex gets back and all the rest, but just real quick thoughts here before we go to break. What do you think we should see here? And bear in mind that Immortals does have that 1 game advantage moving in.
Well, I was thinking that compLexity was going to have Cloud9's number in this series, and considering that Cloud9 truly looked like the better team throughout the entire series, although they lost that 1 map on Dorado, it was very close, and you could say that Cloud9 probably should have won that too. I think that bodes pretty well for them going into the next map against Immortals, even though they are down 1. The map draft is going to probably play a pretty big part of it. Are they going to have 2 King of the Hills this time? Are they going to have to go back to Eichenwalde, which is a very good Immortals map? I think if Cloud9, and especially if Mendo, can continue to be a significant presence as Roadhog, that's going to be a big part of Cloud9's chances of winning.
Yeah, and also another thing too to keep in mind is that you saw Grim pick up Hog a couple times there as well, and Grim's going to be a guy to look out for in this matchup. And also the tank battle between Nami and Rib, because Rib has been a difference maker as well. I know you guys haven't really been highlighting him as much, but I have. I really, really like what Rib has been bringing to the table for Cloud9. And I feel like if I had to tip my hat either way, like Rib is definitely the, going to get the upper hand there against Nami. Could be wrong. I want Nami to, I want everyone to do well, but I just think that in that battle in particular, those are going to be some matchups that I'm quite excited to see.
Alrighty, so we're going to be taking a short break here in a moment, but I want to give a big shout out here. Golden Boy, thank you so much for joining us here on the cast here tonight. Any final words before we go to break and all the rest?
No, I mean, I had a blast. This is my first like monthly melee, and I've spent so long watching these things, so to be able to take part in them was super fun. Thank you so much. And, you know, thank you to the chat. I had a blast. You guys are awesome. And, you know, maybe I'll renew my sub in a month. Who knows, right? I mean,
maybe. Wait,
unless
have
we
we
get some
not
good
done enough?
emotes in there.
Have we not done enough for you?
We need some better emotes, man. I mean, I can't just go around spamming your face, okay?
Look, I'm in full agreement. We do need better emotes on the channel. I mean, you can spam Hex selling out. He has like the dollars in the eyes and everything like that. So